Alright. Enough is enough. Let's cut the crap and let's get real. Stop that sovereign citizen nonsense. You're going to get some people locked up and hurt financially and legally. You know, today we're going to go over some sovereign citizen problems, and we're going to go over why you need to quit listening to these people. They're only going to cause you issues. Trust me, you don't want to go down that road. You're just going to piss off the judge. And when you piss off the judge, everyone knows that when you piss off the judge, you get dusted, right? Everyone knows this, you know. So if you think you're calling yourself a sovereign citizen means you're above the law, sit down, shut up, and listen, because I'm about to drag this fantasy out into the daylight and beat it with the cold, hard facts of the U.S. law, court rulings, and plain common sense. Okay, look. You're getting people locked away. That stuff don't win in the court, okay? It's not going to win at all in the courts, okay? So just stop. If you think you've unlocked some hidden code in the Constitution, you ain't. You think you found some magical words that make the police, judges, and taxes vanish? You didn't. In fact, you've got a recipe. You got a recipe for arrest, contempt of court, fines, asset, seizure, and jail time. You know, a sovereign citizen is someone who says, I'm not subject to government jurisdiction unless I consent. You don't have to recognize the court. You can say, oh, you're part of the bar exam, you're the British, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you what. You can say that you're not a party to the United States corporation. Go ahead. Tell them that you're not a U.S. citizen. You're a natural citizen. You're a natural person in the United States, and you're not a U.S. corporation citizen. They'll bag your ass up, drag you through the mud, and chunk you on the other side of a border into a country you're not a citizen of neither. You can go do all these paperworks and all of that and get it all thrown out. You don't want to renounce your citizenship. You don't want nothing to do with that. I assure you, it's not going to work out for you. Alright? Guess what? It's bullshit. It's not law. It's legal fantasy fiction. Every one of you. And all the shit that you're spouting is. Because you know what? There might have used to been a time that you could work some of this out. But it's not. It's not going to. Okay? You don't get to opt out of laws because you don't like them. If that were true, murderers could just walk free by saying, I ain't contract with the state. And that's the problem with your argument. You know, there's always two sides to that fence. You know, there's always going to be a bad person that's going to abuse what we got. So let's go to court precedent, because reality doesn't care about YouTube rabbit holes, okay? United States v. Beneby, citation 654 F.3D, 753, 7th Circuit Court, 2011. The court explicitly states that sovereign citizens are nothing more than detached from reality individuals who attempt to delay judicial proceedings by asserting fictional legal theories. Mackey v. United States, citation 864, F2D 525, 7th Circuit Court, 1988. The court ruled that individuals are subject to federal law regardless of whether they consent. Consent is not a requirement for jurisdiction. United States v. Studley, citation 783, F2D 934, 9th Circuit Court, 1986. The court rejected the argument that a person isn't a taxpayer because of sovereign claims. The IRS and courts don't care about your fringe theories. These cases aren't suggestions, they are binding rulings. They're how judges are told to treat your little paperwork games and phony legal jargon with zero tolerance and immediate consequences. Send in a 10-page affidavit to the court with phrases like, I do not consent, I am a living man, I deny your jurisdiction, I'm traveling, not driving. It isn't legal strategy, as verbal graffiti, and the courts will not take you seriously. As much as I wish we could, it don't work that way. Look up the Amjur 2D, Volume 16D, Constitutional Law, subsection 3. No person is above the law, and the Constitution does not provide immunity from compliance with duly enacted laws of the land. Amjur is what lawyers and judges cite. It's not a Reddit. And what does it say? No one is above the law, not you, and not your made-up fucking court. Okay? Go get you a couple copies of the Amjur. It'll open your mind up quite well. Let's put it this way. If you can walk into court and say, I do not consent, and I leave with no consequences, there'd be no laws, no justice, no function in fucking society. Try this logic anywhere else. Tell the IRS you don't consent to taxes. Tell the cop you don't consent to speeding laws. And tell a judge you're not a 14th Amendment citizen. And watch what happens. It ends up in jail, fines, and loss of your rights. Total. These theories are not just wrong, they're dangerous. And they don't make you smart, they make you a target for enhanced scrutiny. And the judges, they don't care about your YouTube arguments. You start spouting sovereign lingo in a real courtroom, and they'll mark you as a disruptor. You get less leniency, you get longer sentences, and you lose appeals. Even defense attorneys are trained to spot this nonsense and shut it down because it makes their job harder. If you really want to assert yourself in court, stop pretending to be above the system and learn the damn system. Master, look this up. Legal terms of art. Okay, you need to master it. These words that carry specific meanings in law, like jurisdiction, contract, standing, venue, tort, remedy. You use them wrong and you sound like a fool, but you use them right. And you can keep the ball on their side of the fence, trying to figure out how to get it back over. Okay, because that's the object. The entire object is to keep burden of proof on the plaintiff or your opposing claimant. So that way they're always trying to prove burden of proof. Okay, study procedure. Understand motions, discovery, evidence, rules, and appeals. Learn how judges actually act in court. Know when to talk and when to shut up. Know how to file a motion properly. Okay, learn how to say things like this. Your Honor, I move to dismiss under Rule 12b-6 for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. And don't be saying, I'm a sovereign being on the land and your laws don't apply to me. One of those sentences gets heard and the other one gets laughed at and recorded for contempt of court. You really need to learn your legal terms of art. You really need to learn how to understand what they're saying. And the main thing is You know, final word on it. You know, sovereign citizens don't want freedom. They want chaos disguised as freedom. They want to pick and choose what laws apply to them, but not to anyone else. All right, it's not liberty. It's not anarchy. So stop chasing magic words, made up legal myths. They don't work. They get you arrested and they get your kids taken from you. They get your house leaned and they ruin your fucking record. You want real power in court? Learn the real language of law. Read Black's Law Dictionary. Study case law. Watch real trials. Listen to real lawyers. And above all, shut up, pay attention when a judge is talking. Because it's important that you understand what he's saying. Because he's going to use legal terms to word his sentence. And not layman terms, okay? That's how you win. Not by acting like rules don't apply, but by learning to use them better than your opponent. Stop being a rebel without a clue and stop being a citizen with a strategy, okay? You know, roads aren't just public property you own because you pay taxes. They're publicly regulated spaces managed by state and local governments, funded by taxpayers, and governed under legal duty to maintain public safety and traffic flow. That's not an opinion. It's how the legal system is built, okay? From the moment a road is built with state, federal, or local funds, it becomes a part of the public trust, meaning the government is legally responsible for regulating, maintaining, and securing it. You see this in the state constitutions, public work codes, and Title 23 of the U.S. Code governing federal aid highways, and even your Department of Transportation mission statements. Governments don't just maintain roads for fun, they're doing it because unregulated roads are public danger, okay? Where do the funds come from? Fuel tax, registration fees, tolls and user fees, general fund taxes, sales, income, property tax. These dollars fund the paving and the repaving, snow removal, signage and signals, crash barriers, inspection teams, bridge safety, and law enforcement. When a state paves a highway or installs traffic lights, that's your tax money. Not so you can claim ownership, but so the state can fulfill its duty to keep travel safe and consistent. All right. Now, you know, like in my last video, I think there should be private roads and commercial roads, and I think both roads should be regulated, but the private roads should be regulated quite differently than the commercial regulated roads. You know, the private regulated roads be regulated, ensuring nobody's stealing kids. There's no killing on the side of the road and things. You know, common sense thing. You know, the power to regulate roads is part of the state's police power, the constitutional right to regulate for public health, safety, and welfare, and the courts back this every damn time. Hendrick v. Maryland, citation 235 U.S. 610. The Supreme Court held that states have full authority to regulate traffic and enforce safety rules requiring licenses because public roads fall under the state's responsibility. And I'm going to put this up on a page for you so you can see. But the Supreme Court held that states have full authority to regulate traffic, enforce safety rules requiring license because public roads fall under the state's responsibility to protect its citizens. Okay? The use of highways is subject to regulation for public good. And that was more than 100 years ago. So, you know, as much as we want to argue the sovereign citizen thing, it's not going to work out. Maintenance isn't just fixing potholes. It's part of controlling access, engineering safety, and reducing liability. If a road isn't properly signed, striped, maintained, people can die. And that's why states inspect bridges on a schedule, repair pavement based on safety scores, paint lane lines, and install reflectors, rebuild roads based on accident data, respond to weather damage and emergencies. Licensing and rules exist for safety, not profit. Driving is a regulated privilege. not an absolute right. If the public funds and the public interest are involved, the state gets to say who drives, how, and what conditions. So when you hear folks claim, I don't need a license to travel, ask them if they'd say that about flying a plane or operating a crane in public. The government isn't trying to own you, it's fulfilling a legal duty to make sure people don't kill each other on taxpayer-funded infrastructure. Okay? Like I said, I believe there should be roads specific for private travel. I think there should be roads specific for commercial travel. I think that private travel roads should be regulated. I think they should be regulated in a very specific manner that isn't crapping completely on your right to free travel. You know, we all do have a constitutional right to free travel, but like I said in my last video, we got a long way to go if we want to separate private conveyance from commercial. You know, if everyone could do anything on the road, there'd be chaos. If you want to drive, you need to follow the rules for public safety, not just for your personal freedom. And if you're using a road paid for by others, you're agreeing to play by their rules. And see, that's the thing is, they used our money to pave these roads, so now we have to abide by their regulations. Public roads aren't Wild West zones. They're public trust assets. Your tax dollars fund them, sure. But in return, the state is bound to regulate and maintain them, and that's a good thing. Freedom doesn't mean chaos. It means order maintained through the rules you help fund for everyone's safety. So, you know, you got to be careful. You know, you got to be really careful. And the sovereign citizens, you know, you really need to be careful because some of the shit that comes out your mouth is not healthy for you. In fact, it's really, really dangerous. You know, listen up. You know, please, if you're watching someone that's a sovereign citizen, please stop. You know, all they're going to do is get you into court, and you're going to lose. And you're not going to lose just bad. You're going to lose really bad. Okay? So, don't listen to them. It's bad. You know what it is. It's berserkinary and one love. Listen and learn. I hope you take what I've said today and try and understand it. Watch me twice if you need to. Like and comment. Subscribe for more. If there's something you'd like me to talk about more, let me know and I'll research it and we'll talk about it in depth. And we can even debate with it. So, you know, give me a shout.